Welcome back to the shop, everybody. This week's video takes place in 2026, week 15, April 6th through April 12th. And we are starting off this video continuing on engine work. And what I'm doing right here is I'm getting my little scope, and I'm just very, very loosely checking piston to valve clearance. So I got those checker springs in there. So what I'm doing is I'm just moving the piston in that cylinder to top dead center. And I'm kind of compressing the spring and moving the valve down as much as I can, just to check it out. That is not like the best way to do it. I don't have push rods, so I can't check it properly. But as soon as I get push rods in, I will properly check it with some clay, just to make sure. But at first look, I should have plenty of piston to valve clearance. I don't even need to stress about that. Alrighty, so I am moving on to checking push rod length. So what I'm going to do is I have a push rod length checking tool. I'm going to set that up. I'm going to put it on top of the rocker. I'm going to make sure that the intake is on the base circle. And then I'll make sure the exhaust is on the base circle, and I will measure for push rod length. So to do that, I have this tool. It comes in multiple pieces. I'll put it all together. I'll put the pieces together, and then the outer tips are adjustable. So what I'll do is I will get the push rod length checker tool to rough length, and then with the rockers properly installed, I will lash them to I think I do like 10 thou cold, which is fine. I mean, the rockers are adjustable, probably up to like 200 thou, so fairly adjustable. I don't need to be dead on. I can be a couple of thou off. Yeah, so I get it in there. I'm going to use my calipers. My calipers only go to 6 inches, which aren't really long enough, but I eventually just make one side 5 3/4 inch long, and I tape it so it doesn't move, so only one side moves. And then I know that I only need to measure, effectively like the top little adjustment screw, and that gives me my 5 3/4 plus my overall length. Yeah, so then since I've got the checker springs in, once I measure push rod length, I'll set the push rod length checker tool to the length, and then I will just roll the engine over with it in, just to make sure that the rocker is like perfectly centered on the valve stem, which with these stud girdles, not stud girdle, this is a Dressel shaft rocker. With these shaft rockers, it hopefully has to be like dead on. I could shim it up a little bit, but fortunately when I get to that point, I don't need to. So I've got a 10 thou feeler gauge, and I am just putting it between the rocker and checking the push rod, just to make sure I get the right length, because if you have it too long, the valve will never close. If it's too short, the valve won't open properly, so you need the right length push rod. So one thing I may have mentioned when I was putting the head on is that the studs that I have aren't quite long enough to fit all the way down to the bottom of the bore. And reading the dart block instructions, it says, you know, if your stud doesn't reach the bottom of the bore, if the threads bottom out on the head, you're supposed to get some ball bearings, put them in the bottom of the head stud holes and space them up. So I was just quickly measuring how much space there is, and there's a fair amount. So I do need to order some ball bearings to fit in there. So I was just taking those measurements. And now since I'm here, I'm just pulling the rocker tray off, and I can pull that head off. And do I pull the head off now? Well, yeah. I'm going to pull this rocker stand off. I'm going to do a little bit of cleanup, and I'll pull that head off because the head doesn't need to be on at the moment. Although... Right, no, I need to pull the head off to check the piston and valve clearance because I need to put some clay on top of the piston that I check to get a fairly accurate measurement. So just going to do a little bit of cleanup, and then we'll pull that head off because it doesn't need to be on right now. So one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to soak all of my lifters in oil. The idea is if you soak them in oil, the oil should displace the air in them, just makes for a little bit of an easier startup. So what I'm doing is I have some old 1 liter oil containers, so I'm just cleaning them off, and then what I'll do is I'll cut the top of it out. I'll fill them up with oil and I'll put the lifters in. So I'm putting these on top of my engine, so I want them to be clean. I don't want any dirt or stuff in there. So just take my knife, cut a hole in the top. This first one goes pretty smooth, no problem. And the second one, I pretty close to immediately put a hole through the bottom of it. So that was no good, otherwise oil is just going to leak out the bottom. So I was like, whatever, I'll just try and go with just this one and see if it fits. So just taking some brand new oil, because I'm not going to be using that oil in this car anymore. So, it's perfect to use that oil for the lifters, for assembly, for anything like that. So fill it up, and I'm just going to start throwing all the lifters in here. I did get all 8 pairs of lifters in there, so I'm pretty happy about that. Once I get them all in there, I will top it up with oil, and I will just, put the bag in, and it's been soaking for like a week already. Now that we've checked our push rod length, it's time to put the normal springs back in. So I'm done with the checker springs. So using the tool, I'm just going to put this all back together. It was actually a little bit harder than I thought it was going to be to get the keepers back in. I struggled with it a little bit. I eventually figured out how it all worked with just the checker spring just to test it. And I did get it all back together, but yeah, it did take a little bit longer, and it was a little bit tougher than I was expecting it to be. Now from assembly, there is a bunch of assembly, ARP assembly lube all over the head and in the casting, so I'm just cleaning it up a little bit. Yes, this engine is going to get dirty. I know that for a fact, but figure might as well clean it up while I'm here. At least keep it looking nice for a little bit. And now it is just time to do a bit of general cleanup, put some stuff away that I don't need, because it's going to be a few days before I get back to this. So let's just get everything kind of tidied up a bit. Now that the bench is cleaned up, let's start reassembling the front end. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to get the K-member in, and then I will start putting spindles on, stuff like that. I did just chip the paint there as I was hammering that bolt in. When I pulled that bolt out initially, I had beat the crap out of the metal, and I thought I had it enough, but maybe the paint got a little too thick. I'm not worried about it. This is a street car, it's not a show car. So it's going to get scratches, it's going to get dinged up, such is life. That's just the way it goes. But yeah, so when I initially installed this K-member, I squared it all up, and then using a drill bit, I drilled up into the frame, and I used just with a 1/8 inch drill when it was squared, and that should line it up. So this time around, I don't know if the front end has like narrowed or something like that, but I wasn't able to get it 100%. It's within like a 1/16 of an inch, maybe an 1/8 of an inch, so it's really not out. All of my adjustment in my front end will be able to fix that. But yeah, on the driver's side, I was able to get the punch in there properly, and then on the driver's side, I struggled. You'll see in a second, like I try using my body to spread the front end out, and it just doesn't want to work. I'm quite interested to see when I try to put the front bar on, if that still lines up, because it's weird that the K-member wouldn't line up, but the rest of it would. But anyways, I just bolted up as is. I can of course square this up later if it's really out, but as I say, it's maybe an 1/8 of an inch, and that's negligible. We can, by towing it out, by towing the wheels in and out in the camper caster, that's nothing. That's not even something to consider, really. it's time to start getting these control arms on. Passenger side was really tight, so I'm just gonna tape them off so that I can kind of hit them with a rubber dead blow hammer and hopefully not destroy the brand new powder coating. That would be pretty terrible. And I can just kind of beat on the K-member a little bit and open those up. So get these in. The bolt holes, because they were powder coated, are smaller. So it was actually kind of challenging to get the bolts through, but eventually managed to get it in, smartened it up on the second side, on the driver's side there. I actually just take a step bit and I just drill the powder coat out, and then the bolts, slip right in and out like they're supposed to. Yeah, I don't think that's going to hurt anything. The bolt's going to be taking up all the cavity. I mean, a little bit of water may get in there, but I don't think it's a big deal. Control arms are in, so we'll just place the caster camber plates in place. Again, like caster and camber is going to be way out of whack. I will take this in for an alignment, as I've done twice already. But hey, it is what it is. We got to do it. So at first, when I brought these spindles out, I was like, I can just leave them as is. But then I realized getting the spindles off the lower control arms was a pain in the butt. Reality is, it's 2 bolts to pull the caliper off, so let's just get these painted up. So I'll take the caliper off. I'll tape off all the machine surfaces like I did when I primed them. I'll tape off the rotor, and then we are going to paint the spindles black like the body. I'm not doing any metal flake. No one's really ever going to see this anyways. So if somebody was like, oh, you didn't metal flake it, I'd just be like, yeah, it's a spindle. Like, who cares? right, well, the spindles are drying. We are going to just do some general reassembly. So what I'm going to do here on the passenger side is I'm going to start reinstalling the through panel studs for my big power and ground cables. And then I'm going to start, I'm going to put the aluminum, the aluminum plate for the big power HD30 through panel firewall or through firewall connector or through panel connector. That runs all my wires for the heater core on this side. What else is that gonna run on this side? My fans. Yeah, so we're just gonna start getting all the electrical kind of reinstalled. Gonna do the same thing on the connector for the engine. So here I'm going to drill these out, and then I'm going to put some riv nuts in there. And what I'm eventually gonna have to do is pull that plate off, and I'll have to seal behind it so water doesn't get in there, because at the moment it's not watertight and there's a bit of a gap. But for just starting off, it's totally fine. So these are 832 riv nuts. I end up breaking the tool in, I think, the second one, which is kind of sketchy, because if I can't get the tool out, then I got to try and drill out the riv nut, and it's stainless steel, so it's going to be a little bit harder. Fortunately, I do end up getting the tool out. It actually came up pretty easy. And then I just get the rest of these finished off. So the astute viewer will see that I have Loctite. I'm Loctiting these bolts. I don't know why I did this, because as I mentioned, I do need to put some sealer behind that because it's not watertight at the moment, but that's okay. It's only blue Loctite. I should be able to just pull those fasteners right out. So what we're doing here is we are putting the heater core and AC bulkhead back in. Gotta make sure we put the... Interesting. Oh, okay, no, that's not upside down. It looks upside down because I'm like, I see something silver, but that's the AN adapters. So yeah, the heater core goes on the top and the AC lines go on the bottom. And after that, we can start putting the heater box back in. But we're not going to put the heater box in before we do wiring. So what I'm going to do now is I have my engine harness wiring schematic. I've got the Dominator wiring schematic. I'm going to go through all 43 pins, and I'm going to verify that each and every single one of them go exactly where I expect it's going to go and does exactly what I expect it to do. And this is going to take a little bit of time, but I got to do this for my own peace of mind. Now that I got the engine harness done, I'm just going to quickly check the few pins or the few inputs that I have for the passenger fender connector. I've only got one connected right now. The others are spares. They're just pinned and sitting there loose. So I'm just verifying the one that I have connected that I'm going to use right away. So now it is time to put the heater box back in. So I painted all of the studs that I'm using to mount the heater box. So I'm just taking a nut, threading it down, kind of clearing them up. And after that, I'm going to grab the heater box and we're going to get this put back in. I'll tell you, the asshole that put this thing together or built the mounts for this, man, that guy's an idiot. It is pretty freaking tough to get at some of the nuts, but you know, get your hand up in there and you just gotta do what you gotta do. You gotta make it work, and it's what I did. I made it work. It was a bit tough, but hey, it is what it is. You know, as I say, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. Alright, so with that, we are going to pull all of the masking off of this one spindle. And after I get all the masking pulled off, I'm going to start taping off and painting interior pieces. So I have the pedal box that I want to paint, as well as the brake booster. So before I get these in the car, I might as well paint these both now. So I'll tape off all the threads, I'll tape off the rubber parts and the what's that? That's the lever for the brake booster. I'll pull the little billet piece off of the pedal box for the clutch, and then I'll tape off, you know, all the bolts and all the machine surfaces in the pedal box. And then we're going to paint these black as well. Might as well. Got them out of the car. It's only going to take a little bit of time to do this, so might as well spend a little time and make it look pretty nice. Between coats, I'm going to do a little bit more work. So I'm going to put the riv nuts for the engine bay panels in, you know, 4 on either side. Super quick and easy to do, so let's just get it done. Now back to general reassembly. We are going to throw the steering rack in here. We're going to get the shocks in. We're going to get the spindles back on. So we're just continuing with general suspension reassembly. If you've been with the channel for a while, you saw me do this a long time ago. So we're just going to go through, redo it. I think we're going to torque everything, get everything marked. But yeah, there's no reason why I shouldn't do this. So there's this stupid little clip on the driver's side dust cover for the tie rod, and at one point in time the dust cover had come off, so just struggling to get this clip done up. I hate these clips, they're kind of crap. I almost should have just cut it off, put a hose clamp on it, but it is what it is. And kind of one of the weird things is the boots are different from side to side on this rack, even though this was like a brand new rack from LMR. I think when I was going through it I noticed it and I mentioned it, but it is what it is. I eventually get this all tightened down after a lot of struggling, so hopefully it doesn't come off this year. So we'll just really quickly throw some more paint on the brake booster and the pedal box. I don't really care about the brake booster and how good it does or doesn't look. I really should get a new one because that's probably original to the car, so it's probably an 85. For those of you who have been around, I was originally going to put a 93 Cobra booster in this, and I had it in there, but it did not work. When I tried to use the brakes, the pedal just sank to the floor. The pedal did it did stop, but I was not confident in it. I did not feel like I had any brake pressure. It just felt like it went right to the floor, and so I was like, hey, not using this, and so I went back to the original. That's just what I had to do. And the original worked. I got a great pedal feel. Last year on the BC Drag It Challenge, Animal ran in front of the road, so I was kind of light on the brakes, thinking it was going to get out of the way, and then I had to brake hard and locked them up. So yeah, the brakes actually work pretty damn good in this car. So with that done, we're with another coat of paint on. I'm just going to start terminating some wires. So this is the upper USB charger that I put in. So this is kind of mainly going to be for GoPros, stuff like that. So I'm going to have 3 of these chargers in the car. Each of them do 2 USB-C and 2 USB-A. So that should be enough power for everything I'm going to be doing, charging battery packs, charging phones, running GoPros, all that fun stuff. Now I'm just kind of wasting time doing something that's really not overly critical, but just something like, ooh, I want this. So I'm putting some of my LED lights on this top bar so that I'll at least have interior lights. So I'll put these on, and then as I'm going to put the one on the driver's side, I kind of realize, oh, wait a second, I've got my switch panel that has to go on that top bar. So I'll go and I'll get the switch panel and I'll kind of roughly install that. I do need to make a bigger panel with some more switches, so I'll need to figure that out. But yeah, so once I get that on, what I'll do is I'll put the driver's side light on, and then I'm actually going to get the interior lights in the front here wired up. So with wrapping up this wiring on the front interior lights, we are going to get back to reassembling the suspension on the front end. So I got the control arms on, so we're going to throw the coilovers on, we'll get the spindles on. I think we're going to get kind of everything on the front end here put back together, and then we'll get it all torqued up as well. You know, it's only been a small bit of work just getting kind of the front end put back together, but man, this thing is already starting to look like a car. I'm actually quite happy with it. Alright, so while I was down here, I was looking at these 2 holes in the frame, and they're for the line lock. So what I want to do is, instead of, like, I used to just have it the frame threaded, but what I'm going to do instead is install riv nuts. So I'm just using a piece of tape so that as I'm drilling out, it kind of protects the paint a little bit. And then what I'll do is I will get some 1/4" riv nuts. I will put it in the hole, and I will use these riv nuts to hold the line lock in place. Now with the brakes on the car, I was just walking by and I was looking at this and I was like, you know what? I still have tape on this quarter window. I just want to take all the tape off. I don't know, maybe had a bit of an ADD moment. I don't know, but I was like, yeah, let's just take that off. And I want to be able to see inside. I want to see how it looks with all the tape. And I really need to clean those windows, but that's a different story. Now we got the passenger side window open. I've done the driver's side, but that's fine. It is time to start reinstalling some of the interior. So that is the brake booster, that is the pedal box, that's now all nicely painted black. So I'm just going to work on getting these reinstalled in the car. Reinstalling the pedal box, it all goes pretty smoothly. There was nothing stand out about it. It just, went in there like it's supposed to. Went to start installing the brake booster, and I remembered that one of the threads is all chewed up. So I'm just going to grab my tap and die set, and I'll run it down the threads just to clean it up. So with that pedal box back in here, just managing a bit of the wiring, trying to get it up and out of the way, and just, you know, get everything kind of sorted on the inside. And hell, while we're here, let's put the steering column back in, because, you know, why not? Just, you know, want to get things situated, make sure everything has clearance. I've got that new clutch position sensor. I'm not 100% sure that it's going to clear everything, so, you know, if I need to do any clearancing or anything like that, this is the perfect opportunity to do it. Now with that steering shaft back on, I'm just going to start putting like the through panel plate back on the driver's side here, and that's going to be for the big HD30 for all my electrical connectors for the driver's side. Got the brake booster on, got the pedal box on, might as well put the master cylinder in. And now I'm going to put the weather stripping on the passenger side here, and I just kind of want to make sure that this door is still going to work and still going to fit. All that kind of good stuff. So yeah, we'll throw the weather stripping on, and then we'll kind of throw the door up in place and just see how it fits and how it does. between the paint and just the rest on the bolts. You know, this whole thing is kind of crusty, so I'm going to go through, I'm going to tap all of the holes that the door hinge bolts go into, and then I'm also going to take the bolts over to my bench grinder here and just use the wire wheel and clean all of the rust off of them. And with this quick little test fit and not getting too crazy about this, yeah, this door fits just as good as it did when I first mounted it, and really happy with how it's turned out. There's a little bit of adjustment that I need to do, but you know, when I get to final assembly, I'll make all those small tweaks and, you know, adjust the gaps. And I do want to adjust the gaps before I paint the doors, because I'm going to be, you know, filing or sanding the fiberglass down a bit. But for my little test fit right now, this is perfect. Everything looks good. So happy. Well, the car is a bit of a mess, so let's just go through and do some cleanup. So right now I'm just tackling a little piece. There's a little metal piece behind the door jamb that the striker for the lock goes into, and it was missing on the other side, so I'm just quickly threw it in. Now I'm thinking about getting back into some wiring, because I got a bunch of wiring to do on this thing. So yeah, let's just start putting some wires back into place. So those are just my main battery and ground cables for the engine and for the alternator and powering the fans and stuff at the front of the car, and, you know, charging the battery in the back via the alternator. And just me procrastinating, because why not? I got so much shit to do on the car. I got time to burn, apparently. I'm getting back into my old ways of just like procrastinating instead of just jumping in and doing stuff. I was so good at just jumping in and doing stuff for so long, and this last weekend I just felt like, I'm just, procrastinating and not doing things. And so anyways, I gotta get back into the work, get after it, like work mentality. So I think I'm gonna start doing that here. I need brake lines on the car. Let's just start doing brake lines. So I got my brake line straightener out. I do have some brand new stainless steel brake line. So I'm like, okay, great. This is perfect. I'm going to, just do straighten out the old brake line. I'll use this as a template, and then I'll redo it out of steel line. So yeah, just straightening out the old brake line that I had that went from the master down and around the frame over to the line lock. And I'm going to straighten out the steel tube while I'm at it, because I'm just going to get ahead of myself. I don't even have the template, but I'm feeling pretty good. I'm going to get this steel line bent out, so as soon as I get my template made, I am just good to go. So yeah, just kind of sitting here playing with it, figuring it out. Yeah, don't really know what else to say. Just trying to figure out the best way to get this around the frame rail. Just try and get it bent up. It's got some, gnarly angles and whatnot. I'll get it figured out though. So after messing around with this for a little bit, as you kind of saw, I am going to go a different route on this. I don't know exactly what the different route is, but I do know I'm going a different route because this just didn't work great at all. So I have an idea in my head as to how I'm going to do it. I just haven't got all the pieces quite yet, so I need to figure that out. So screw it. Let's just do something I do know how to do and that I kind of enjoy doing, which is electrical. I got a bunch of wires to terminate at the fuse box. I got a bunch of wires to terminate on the back. All my new switch panel wiring. Just a ton of stuff to do. So let's just start getting at it. Well, folks, with this last little bit of wiring here getting done and tidied up, that is all the time that we have for this week. So as always, if you stuck around this long, I'd like to thank you for viewing, and we'll see you in the next one.